Hello and welcome to this episode of Yes, I Can Living. I'm your host, Kathy Alessandra, the Yes, I Can coach, and super excited to be here with you all today. Thank you for taking time to join us. Now, today I have a very special guest, Keri Murphy, who I've known for probably, we got to be going on 10 or 15 years, maybe
Yes.
even more, something like that, right? We actually originally met at the Oregon Women's Conference that she was producing. And then since then, we live in the same area. We run into each other in all different kinds of events. You have an amazing event each year. I've got to get my ticket for that.
Yeah.
And a little boy. I mean, there's just so much to tell, but you're part of and a creator of Inspired Living TV and the Inspired Living brand. And really a big one. You all know how much I talk about getting on video. Well, Keri is the go-to for getting comfortable getting on video. So Keri, welcome very much to our show today.
Oh, Kathy, thank you for having me. I love being here and I love what you stand for. And I'm excited to inspire some people to show up authentically and powerful online so they can make the impact they are here to make.
Exactly. That's the thing right there, right? You can make such an impact with video. You know that, I know that, and yet everybody kind of fades in the background. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about how and why you started your business and your journey to where you are now?
I find that such a funny question, the how and why, because I think sometimes you start a business knowing exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So you think, right? So you think.
Right.
And then there's other times that I think businesses come to you. And so Inspired Living is actually my third business that I've started. I started my first business in my 20s as an interior designer. And then I bought a talent agency I went through as a little girl. So I've been on camera since I was 11 years old. So we're talking a long time, 30 years or so. And I love business. I love personal development. I love being able to see potential in people. And so in the 2008 recession, I know so many people can relate to what happened then, mirroring a little bit of what happened last year. I found myself in a place where I couldn't keep doors open any longer. I was really forced to close and start over. And I'm never a plan B kind of gal. I am plan A all the way, And so I found myself moving to Los Angeles all by myself in my early 30s, pursuing the television hosting, which I've done for over 20 years. And, Kathy, that brought joy to a sense because, I think all of us have these dreams. And then sometimes we actually start pursuing them and realize that they're not quite what we thought they were. And so for me, doing the shuffle and the hustle and, auditioning here in Los Angeles. At this time, I'm 33. And I tell people I might as well have been 93 because, in LA, it's a beast. It's a different beast. And I found myself in an audition room with about 300 supermodels for a spokesperson job. And I will never forget the day, Kathy. I went in, I had waited 3 hours to go into this little teeny room. And I had to get down to my bikini because it was a spokesperson job for a high-end resort. I did my 2-minute little spiel and I walked out and I sobbed. I sobbed like big girl crocodile tears. And I was like, I'm not going to wait for someone to validate what I want to do. I mean, at that point, I had been an entrepreneur for over 10 years. And I was just like, I'm not doing this. I'm in my 30s. I'm showing up in a bikini. I'm a CEO. Like, what am I doing? And so I made the decision then and there that I was going to start my own path. And I remember at that time I had come off hosting a show on the Golf Channel. I had a lot of Facebook friends that were golfers, Kevin Sorbo being one of them. I reached out to Kevin on Facebook and I said, hey, I have this show called Inspired Living where I interview successful entrepreneurs and celebrities. And would you let me interview you? I did not know Kevin, and he said yes. And that was back in 2009, 2010. And so that started the Inspired Living kind of movement. But what really got us to where we are today, which is a 7-figure business, is niching down and having that aha moment where I never planned to build a coaching business, but I was online trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And I watched someone in our space, very well known on camera. And Kathy, I remember it was so over the top. It was just like, hi, I'm Keri, and I am so excited you're here today. And in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to share something. And I'm like, whoa, what is that? What is that? And I had this aha moment that was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I can teach entrepreneurs how to authentically show up on camera. Here I am. I've been teaching on camera through my talent agency and just through my teens. I had worked for companies like Barbizon and owned my own personal performing arts center. And so I knew how to teach it. but I also am a business brain. So when I married the two together, it was just like, oh, like the skies parted. And I can't say it's been, easy, but
Mm.
it has had this flow to it and this organic growth to it. And it has brought me more joy than I could have ever imagined. But I had to really surrender to God
Mhm.
and the universe because what I thought I was going to do was not. But I'm so grateful for all of it because it has brought me to where I am right now.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, I love that you surrendered, right? The whole surrendering
Surrendering.
idea, because we have this path that we want to go down, and we try to fit that square peg into that round hole.
Yeah.
But when we surrender and release it, I mean, you even use the words, it just flows, right? And
Yeah.
nothing easy about being an entrepreneur. Nothing easy about
No,
it whatsoever.
no.
But
I remember someone once said, when I told them what I did, they're like, "Oh, so you have some crazy in your DNA." I'm like, I remember that, and I always say it because it's true. I think to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a little cray cray in the DNA, but
yeah,
it's what makes us who we are. For me, it just lights me up and it brings me joy.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that. So you've been in business, I mean, three different businesses. You've been doing this for a number of years, long
Yeah, we're
time.
going on 10.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go.
Hard to
So,
believe. Yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
know. Times, and this last year didn't count, right? So, yeah. Okay. Kidding. But seriously, what kinds of challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them? How did you move through them?
I think like so many other people, Kathy, well, let me say that I built Inspired Living on speaking. And I remember when I started out, and here, I've spoken on stages with Lisa Nichols and Ali Brown and David Nagel, and I've had some really amazing opportunities, but I didn't start there. I started at like little BNIs, little lunch and learns, that 20 minutes while the forks are clamoring around and you're trying to get people's attention. Like I
Right.
think back to those days and I just have to giggle, but we all start somewhere. And so I want your listener to really breathe that in, that we all start somewhere. And I started at these little 20-minute lunch and learns when it was me, myself, and I. And I started doing like these consultations and then it grew from there. But I will
Mhm.
say, like, I love to speak, and I do. I host two amazing events a year, Brilliant and Video Mastery. And then we have my 2 day on camera training, which has really been our what I call our golden egg, our hero, where people fly in to work with the team and I for 2 days. We shoot their video for their website. It is life-changing, transformational stuff that it's even hard for me to eloquently tell you what happens in those 2 days. You just one of those things you just gotta come. But when 2020 hit, obviously it was like erase, delete, like none of that is happening.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And at that point, like we were right up to 7 figures and we had some really great plans and we were going big and we were really excited. But here is what I love about life. Here I am last January, 8 months pregnant. And I had done this masterclass that we do every 8 weeks now called Video Confidence and Conversion. And I started doing that Q4 of 2019. So here I am, a woman that teaches people all over the world how to be on camera. And I resisted teaching online because I didn't want to be like everyone else. And I know that there's someone listening right now who doesn't want to like do what everyone else is doing or like doesn't know how to show up in their authentic space. And I just said, I'm going to do it. This is where people are at. This is before 2020 hit. So we
Right.
had done two of these master classes. Our results were mediocre. And then right before I had Landon, we had a fairly good master class. And then we've done them every 8 weeks. And we had the best year we ever had in 2020. So when people say like erase, delete, I had a baby, we had a breakthrough year. And so I think that as entrepreneurs, one of the things that we have to learn to do is be adaptable and to shift where we need to be to meet our ideal client and serve them at the best and highest use possible. And
Mm.
that's what we've done and that's what we continue to do. So we are all aligned. We're everything that we've done, even Brilliant last year, Kathy, the event that I love like Christmas, and let me tell you, I love myself some Christmas, but we did it online and I thought there is no way that we are going to be able to duplicate what I've created in person. And
Mhm.
financially, we did the same, if not, it was like a couple $1,000s difference.
Yeah.
And the impact, people are like, this was the best virtual event I've ever attended. This was amazing. Now, granted, did you get champagne and hugs? Like, no, but people loved it. And so I had to actually go back and look at the stories I was telling myself about what would and would not work. And man, we were quick. Like we were like, okay, as of July, we're doing it virtual. We're doing it in 3 weeks. Like, what are we going to do? So I think being adaptable and
Mhm.
quick to pivot, I think is key moving forward, because we don't know what's going to continue to happen, but we do know that there are people that need what we do.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. The idea of pivoting quickly, but also you said it. You said you went back to those stories. We all have those stories in our head and those things that we tell ourselves that we
Yep.
can't do this or it needs to look like that. Right.
Yep.
And opening ourselves up
I've never
to,
done it before. I don't know what I'm doing. How am I going to do this? All that stuff. And it doesn't matter where you are in your business. We all have that inner chatter. And I'm not saying it's just squash it and keep going, but you have to look at, is this based on fact? Am I just scared? And that's what I had to continually check in with last year, especially having a baby and trying to manage, the late nights and all of those things. So,
right. For sure. For
yes.
sure. So I'm right there up there with you as far as, we've got to be on video. It's a great way to engage. And there's a lot of people who fight it. I love the story about whoever that was with the hello and right and not
Oh,
being,
yeah. Yeah.
oh my gosh. So what would be a tip that you could give our listeners today on how to really show up authentically? We're talking about Facebook and Instagram lives. We're talking about reels. We're talking about Zooms. There's just so much stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it's all important, I think, really to continue with that, building that relationship, since we can't give the hugs right now.
I know. We can do virtual hugs.
Oh,
And I will say, it's not just because I teach it, but because I see it, because I'm in it, because we're looking at numbers and metrics every day, that if you are not willing to show up and be visible, I think you're going to really struggle growing forward. I don't think no matter what happens, even when live events start opening up again, we've all found a comfort online. And I do think people are going to crave in person. They're going to crave concerts. They're going to want to get out there. This will never go away. Now, I built my business using video. Even when I had no idea what I was really doing or what I was saying, I just knew I had a message I wanted to share. And I think, Kathy, the fact that I lost it all and started over, and I was a single mom for 3 years, building my business from the beginning, there was this level of transparency and authenticity that I didn't have maybe in my 20s and 30s. I had Lauren at 40. I was single. The greatest blessing of my life, one of many. And I think there became this new relatability for people in my community. Maybe people were fans before, but they didn't think that I got them, or that I wasn't a parent, or I didn't get the struggle. And by the way, I got it all. But perception is people's reality.
mhm.
Perception is people's reality. So I think when it comes to authentically showing up, first of all, you got to strip the veneers of yourself. That person that I mocked, which I feel bad for, but it was so true. Like, that's, most of us put out a version of ourselves that we think we need to put out in order to get the attention, the sales, the positioning. And all of that doesn't matter if you're not your most authentic self, because that is the only thing that differentiates you online. It's
Mhm.
not your beauty, it's not your wealth, it's not your systems, it's your story, and it's you. And if you're not willing to show up in that space, if you're always rainbows and lollipops, no one connects with that.
Mhm.
So first of all, you need to know yourself so you can truly show up authentically, because that's what authenticity is. And
Yeah.
then once you know thyself and your message and your why and all of those things, then when you press record, and this is game changing. When people show up and their shoulders become earrings and their voice goes up 3 octaves, it's because they're nervous. It's
Right.
because they don't know who they're talking to. It's because it's all about them instead of being in service. And this isn't making someone wrong. This is just not knowing what's right? This is just, I'm just going to show up. But when we show up, we get nervous. And I've gone through that for many, many years. When I was on set once for Portland Fashion Week, my videographer told me to go get a drink. I was over 21, so it was all good. But we did so many takes and I was so nervous. He's like, Keri, will you please go have a glass of wine and come back? you know, I remember that day like yesterday, because we all start off nervous, but I think what allows the nerves to dissipate is knowing who you're talking to. So when we work with clients, Kathy, the very first thing we do is we discover who's on the other side of that lens. Because if you're trying to say, hey, everyone, and welcome, and how are you all doing? Like there's no personal connection there. And we all have ADD. We are on content overload right now. And so if I don't think you're talking to me, I'm going to go somewhere else where I feel more connected. So talk in the singular to one person. Know them intimately, and you know them intimately because you're doing the work behind the scenes to know the demographic, the psychographic, how are they feeling, what's showing up for them. So when you press record, you're speaking to one person and you know where they're at, what they're struggling with, what they want, why they're not getting it. And it becomes this really amazing dialogue. And it's not a talking head monologue, just blabbing, hi everyone, I'm so glad you're here. Like that doesn't connect with people. So I will say, if you do those two things, if you literally get clear on who you are, why you do what you do, going back to Simon Sinek's TED Talk, that was one of the highly rated TED Talks on the planet, where he goes back to people do business with you because of why you do things, right? It's not what you do, it's why you do it. That's the only thing that we can offer that's different in this marketplace. So know yourself and then know who you're talking to, and then video becomes so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. I love that. I think that's great tips for our listeners to really, hone in on that and understand that and get clear with it. And I think maybe in a way, it may release some of the fear too. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes.
You don't have to show up, all the makeup and there's a time for that as well, but there's also a time to just be on there and connect. I'll never forget, there was it was a Christmas, and I'm guessing, I'm not sure how old Lauren is now, but so it's probably been 5 years ago, 6 years
She's
ago.
5. She'll be 6 in July. Yeah.
Okay. So there was a Christmas video and you were on, and I think you were decorating the house, and you literally came on, it was alive, and you were connecting because you were really feeling a lot melancholy and going through a rough time. And the connection that you could see being made with many of the people on there, sometimes we're afraid to let that veil down.
Yeah.
What's really going on. And, but that's a great, it's authentic. It's who you are. It's
Kathy,
who I am.
yeah. I
Right.
remember that live so well. And it was probably one of my most highest rated videos. And I've done high-end production. I do this, that live. And I remember it well. Lauren was a baby and I was decorating my house for Christmas, and I was laughing and crying. And I remember I was going out to my garage to get all my ornaments. Like I remember that video, and you remember that video. So this is a great example that video is all about emotional connection. You don't have to cry to create emotional connection, but if that's what you remember, right? You remembered I was melancholy and I was a little sad, and you don't remember, oh my God, she was hair and makeup perfect and that she said everything right.
Right.
That is the antithesis of authenticity. And I know that I can look a little bit I don't know, glam, I guess. I grew up in a very glamorous family. I love myself some lashes and liner, but I've actually been working on showing up like with less makeup and behind the scenes more. And let me tell you, Kathy, that takes a lot from me. That is I don't roll out of bed without eyeliner and concealer. So, but I'm launching a beauty brand, and I'm like, well, and I can't tell you the amount of people that reach out on my DMs, like, oh my God, thank you so much for showing up that way. You're so beautiful. And I relate to that. And, at the end of the day, no one connects to perfect. You said it. And the more we try to be, the more of a gap we're putting between us and an ideal client, because they want to see themselves in you. They want to see that you're great at what you do, but they also want to see that if you get poked, you bleed, like that you're a real person, right? And so that is a practice. I say video is a muscle. The more you use it, the easier it gets. But at first, it is so uncomfortable. It hurts. It's awkward. But if you do those two things, if you figure out who you are and how you want to show up and what you stand for and all your quirky things that you bring to the table, like don't censor yourself. If you throw down F-bombs, throw them down. Look at Gary Vee. If you're total buttoned up, be that. Like stop trying to be anything else but you. And then know that one person you're talking to. And that is a game changer for people when it comes to growing their business. All of a sudden, people are like, oh my God, you're talking to me. And that's the best compliment you can ever get.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. So let me ask you this. How do you define success?
I would say to me, success is feeling joy. Like, honestly, like love, I have a company called Inspired Living. And so for me, feeling successful is feeling inspired, feeling lit up from within, feeling like I'm doing what I love, I'm making a difference. I've never been money centric. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I've built a 7-figure business and we're growing tremendously. And I've had a lot of bumps along the way. I lost a business, I filed bankruptcy, I've been without anything. And so I really, to me, success is staying in my zone, like really impacting people's lives, feeling like I'm making a difference, doing something that brings me joy. And then, yeah, making enough money that I can provide for my family. But more importantly, Kathy, and I know this sounds a little cheesy, but I really believe in giving back. I really believe in reciprocity. I believe that, when women can show up at 7-figure tables and conversations and, where the decisions are being made, when we put our money where our passion is, we can make really amazing change in the world because women, we're empathetic, we're more compassionate. Not that our men counterparts are not, but we are more so. So when it comes to philanthropy and like life change, we need to make enough money that we can then give back to causes that matter, or else nothing will ever really change. So to me, that's inspired living. And the more I do that, the more successful I'll feel.
I love it. Love it. So I have no doubt there's people listening. They're like, okay, I really need to connect with her. And you really do need to connect with her. Where would they go to do that, Keri?
Oh, well, I would say, first of all, if you are ready to step into the video game with authenticity and heart and confidence, I really would encourage you to join our masterclass. It is amazing. Kathy, honestly, people have said, Keri, this was the best training, and I've paid for trainings. Like, this has been the best free training I've ever gone to because my team and I give 1,000%. So I'll give you the link for that, but it's on Instagram. You can go to our website, inspiredliving.tv. But I'd love for people to DM us on Instagram. That's pretty much where we live. And we can send the link to the masterclass. It's also in my bio. And we have so many free resources as well. So
awesome. Wonderful. Fantastic. Well, let me ask you the final question I ask all of our guests. What makes you a yes, I can woman?
I love that question. And again, I love what you stand for. Just think about it for a minute. Say, yes, I can, and say, no, I can't. Like, no, I can't. Yes, I can. Like, there's a completely different energy. And just saying that out loud, I mean, I don't know if I'm actually smiling from ear to ear because saying yes, I can is just what drives everything forward. So I think what makes me a yes, I am woman is the fact that I say yes before I know the how. I say yes to possibility. I say yes to myself when I'm not even sure what that means. And then trusting, going back to flow, really believing in God and intuition. And you know what? I might make some major mistakes, but I'm still on path and I'm still saying yes to the things that I feel are right. And I've learned in my wise years that I say yes to the things and I've learned to say no to things as well. And or not now. I like that better. Like not now, because I think so much of success and feeling inspired is timing. And like the beauty line, IL Beauty, I wanted to launch that for 5 years. And I never said no. I said, not now. It's not time now. And so when it was time, I could say, yes, I can. And so that's been, it's just really being in flow. So I will say that, and just continuing to believe in myself and aligning myself with mentors and investing in myself and team. Because I believe that we all can create whatever it is that we have. I think our visions that we're given are truly our destinies. They are divine, they're downloads. They're not given to us to taunt us or to be like, ooh, look what you could have. No, you can't. So I think that we are all capable to do amazing things in the world. And we all have to say, yes, I can every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Again, woohoo! Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your brilliance and expertise. I hope everybody hops on over and connects with Keri. I will put it in the show notes as well. So if you didn't catch that URL, you can check for it there. In the meantime, be sure you also subscribe to the magazine, yesicanliving.com/subscribe. Our next issue is coming out soon, and we'd love to mail one to you. Keri, again, thank you. Thank you to all of our listeners for joining us. And until next time, be sure to live your Yes, I Can life. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.